Hello everyone. On the board, I have set up a position where black clearly has more stones working together, especially in this lower left area. So what are we starting today? Today we begin reduction. Last lesson, in common fighting patterns, we mainly studied how to choose the direction of an invasion, right? While preparing this stage of the course, I realized our study of invasions is not finished. There are still many multi-stone invasion combinations, and one special setup will come up today. So why am I bringing reduction forward now? Because I have watched a lot of games by Q players, low Dan players, and our younger students, and their games constantly turn into this half-framework mutual enclosure. Not one giant whole board framework, but something like half the board each. Even so, one side, black or white, ends up with a big framework surprisingly often. In that kind of position, choosing between invading and reducing is a hard judgment call. Because whichever you choose, it usually marks the opening of the middle game. The moment you invade or you reduce, the opening phase is basically over. Both moves start the middle game fight, but their starting points are completely different. As we said last lesson, an invasion means going deep into the opponent's framework, marching straight into his camp. Whether you live inside or run away, the goal is to wreck his position outright. And in real games, an invasion usually sets off a violent fight. The invader flees toward the center, the attacker chases and surrounds from every side, and the reading burden on you keeps growing, move after move. Reduction is different. Why is it called reduction? In Chinese, one character means to intrude, the other to erase, to weaken. The main method of reduction is not to dive into the opponent's position, but to limit his expansion from outside. An invasion destroys the opponent's territory. A reduction destroys his potential. It squeezes his framework. Invasion and reduction are two complementary tactics, and we pick between them case by case. Now look at this example on the board. Black has a lot of strength in the lower left, and if white does nothing, black will simply expand next. So I asked the class, where would you expand? Give me coordinates. Most picked N14. Is it the N14 area you mean? Others said P13. The P column, P13, are you sure? And N13 here, O14 here. All inside the circle I have drawn. Remember this moment, class. And right there, everyone made a first small mistake. Listen carefully, I said a small one. These tactics sit a bit above your current level. Today is about concepts. First, expansion and reduction are two sides of the same coin. Remember the four development stages of a framework. I, L, U, O, O. Our class knows these. An I-shaped framework, the 3-star formation, or the Chinese opening. An L-shape, 4 stars, or the Chinese opening plus a side extension. The L expands into a U, and once the U closes its mouth, it becomes an O. We said, the I-shape is not scary. For the O-shape, you are already too late. Invade the L-shape, reduce the U-shape. Write those two sentences down. They are today's backbone. One side of solid territory is not scary. While it is still expanding, you can invade. Once it forms a wall of influence, you can still reduce it. Once it seals shut, no one gets in. So, against different formations, we respond differently. Normally, reduction is the tool for limiting a U-shaped framework. What we see here looks like one giant letter L. Here is the rule when this L-shaped formation grows big enough. No longer just a star point with two wings, but genuinely strong, with a thick corner or a thick side, then you cannot break in anymore and reduction becomes your tool. But if the U-shape still leaves us plenty of aji with our own stones nearby, a depth charge style invasion is still possible. Stay flexible. What you see now is a large L-shaped formation. To expand a formation, you must know where its endpoints are. From primary school geometry, there is a thing called a line segment. A line segment has an endpoint at each end. And 2 points determine a line. My freehand line is not very straight, forgive the drawing. Those 2 endpoints are exactly what we hunt for in Go. The endpoints of a wall of influence. You must know where its head is. The left head is easy. It is right here. The bottom head is the one people get wrong. What to look for? Do not pick a stone that is glued to the opponent. I have written 1 and 2 in red. Which one is the endpoint, 1 or 2? Apply what I just said. Avoid points that hug the opponent too tightly. Take a second. Try to digest why. So the endpoint here should be 1. Try to digest that. Now let me explain why I avoid stones that sit right next to the opponent. If you treat this stone as your endpoint, then whenever you try to grow upward, your entire expansion route runs right alongside the enemy, and squeezing you becomes easy for him. Some of you came from here, some from there, some from over here. But every one of those starts from the same stone and heads upward, doesn't it? That leaves the bottom looking hollow. And since the right side sits so close to the opponent, it stays weak. And weaknesses invite the opponent to slip in. Say, white peeps right here? You say, teacher, no problem, I will cut them apart. White blocks down. Can black really organize a serious attack on white? At our level, that is genuinely hard. Because once white pushes down through here, black's right side is thin, cuts and other exploits linger there. Remember, your 4 stones A, B, C, D are not even alive yet. If black crawls back home, then white attaches as well and links up. He bridges back quietly right behind your own stone, and the middle is reconnected. Your expansion achieved nothing. So, when we expand, we avoid starting points that sit too close to the opponent. That stone is on the second line. It does not even qualify as an endpoint. So, when we hunt for endpoints, the left one is here and the bottom one is here. Once both endpoints are found, 2 points make a segment. Join them up. The segment joining the 2 endpoints is called the reduction line. Lay this slanted segment on the board and white will reduce along it. But now think, as black, if you are expanding for yourself, so this slanting line is here, white reduces around this line. But if black is enclosing territory, ask yourself, would you really stay only inside this line? We want high and low stones to work together. Along the side, approach on the 3rd line and extend on the 4th. Then extend on the 3rd again. The same logic applies in the center. This point here is the low side. With this line here, I want to enclose territory along a curve. This is already a shallow curve. A wider curve surrounds a large central framework. Go wider still and it becomes too large. You cannot say, teacher, I want to enclose this much. That is too much. You have swallowed up all of white. 3 arcs, 1, 2, and 3. Practice with arc 3. Arc 2 goes too far. Arc 1 is too wide. To use it, you would have to play at 10 gen. Putting that together, black should expand near arc 3. That gives you a good expansion point for black. For example, K-Fa3 or K-14. A large knight's move is a natural way to expand. After this move, white can hardly enter from below. If black can enclose 6 lines of territory directly, Then later close it at the top and keep 6 lines of territory. That is very efficient for black. Does everyone see that? So both mutual enclosure and mutual reduction make sense. Both are grounded in sound Go principles. Because it works differently from the shoulder hit we will meet soon. For destroying, we know, the reduction line is this one. And white can pick any point along it. But when it is black's turn to expand, always leave some curve in the boundary. How much curve is your choice? There is no strict standard. Just do not be too conservative. Some students would play here, inside their own wall of influence. That is shrinking backward. A student asked exactly about this. Excellent question. We call that passive containment, pure, timid enclosure. You are lowering your own efficiency. Your territory sags in even deeper than the straight connecting line, so the surrounding job earns less than it should. The normal way of playing is called expanding your framework. You have all heard the phrase, in Go magazines, in my commentary, in any professional commentary, expand your framework. Why is it called expansion? Your old sphere reached this line. I now surround more than the straight line. Bigger ambition, further target, higher efficiency. Type 1 in the chat if that makes sense. How black expands toward the center. Many of you did not know this before today. Why the large knights move toward the middle? Why not slap Tengen directly? Teachers keep saying the direct center slap is bad. Here is why. In this position, many beginners love to slam a stone in the middle. Your connecting line sits here, surrounding from that stone means a huge arc. The new points would rival everything on the bottom. Stretch the arc that far and the weaknesses in the middle glare at you. We call this coming up empties. It looks surrounded, but it never really is. Watch professional games. Pros almost never drop a stone straight into the center. A center move must do 2 jobs at once. Weaken the opponent while completing your own expansion, before a pro will play it. So the normal expansion is the large knight's move, right here. Good. That settles black's side of the story. Now let us flip the question. If it is white's turn, how should white weaken this formation? Choosing the direct depth charge invasion, the invasion we studied before, is a real problem here. Because the black stones all around are thick. Last week we said an invasion needs nearby support or a threat against the opponent. In this position, the invasion simply does not work. The left side is extremely thick, and so is the bottom. Here, neither exists. Force the invasion into this pocket, and you are asking to suffer. One lonely group, surrounded on every side, begging for 2 eyes. And while you beg, look what black collects. Whether black answers with the Kosumi or the knight's move, say the Kosumi. You push, he hains. You counter hain, he double hains. That one breezy attacking sequence says it all. Even if white somehow lives, he lives bent over and miserable. Black feels no pressure at all the stress is yours. And think about offline tournaments. Most amateur events use sudden death time, no bioyomi. Burn your clock making one cramped group live, and by the middle game and end game you have 0 seconds left to count boundaries. Your blunder rate soars. This is where real playing fitness begins. Online, on Yahoo or Yicheng, you get the final 20 or 30 seconds of bioyomi. Is 30 seconds enough to find the best move in the late middle game? It is stressful for anyone. Many students panic at the countdown. 1, 2, 3, slam. Watch the top pros. They calmly wait until 8 or 9 before placing the stone. All of this is trainable. So, if the depth charge fails, we return to the reduction line we just learned. Join the 2 endpoints of black's influence. If you feel good about your game, choose points on or outside this line. Note the line will not always pass through board intersections. Like here, it misses. So which point do you take, this one, or that one? That is your own judgment call. If you feel confident about the game, lean toward the outer intersection. Look, along this line, if you judge the position is against you, go slightly inside and pick the deeper intersection instead. So the depth is decided by your own positional judgment. Now some standard triggers. If the opponent has a third line extension, use the shoulder hit as your reduction. If the opponent's extension is on the fourth line, in the modern era, the shoulder hit works there too. Occasionally, you may also use the knight-shaped loose cap. What is that? These are loose capping reductions. In Chinese Go, they are often called diao, literally hanging a move. Something like this shape, resembling a knight's move. But this exact one is out of place today. This cap hangs too far inside, and it is easily sealed in. Not good. Here, the shoulder hit is the right point. And notice it lands exactly on the reduction line. Against it, black has roughly 3 directions. First, press up from above. Second, crawl underneath. Third, try an enclosing point from outside. That outside one looks ferocious, but in truth it does very little. Let me show you why outside moves hold no fear for us. Say you cap me. I simply push outward. You extend, I push, you tiger, I jump out. Sealing me in is not realistic. If black caps on top, I run outward. If black stops a line further out, you just block down. Extend as he presses when he connects, 2-space extension. That is the stand of 3 plus 2-space extension. The group settles locally and still gets out on top. Easy for white. So the direct outside attack gains nothing real. Now, options A and B. Now, suppose black crawls along the third line. First ask why we played this shoulder hit at all. Older textbooks wrote the name with the character for shoulders. The image is standing on your opponent's shoulder and pressing him down. Modern books write it differently, and people argued for years about which is correct. Much like dictionary pronunciations that get corrected once enough, people repeat the mistake. Either way, the label matters less than the idea. The newer character points at the Kosumi shape, though nobody ever calls a stone a little Kosumi child. Some errors, repeated often enough, simply become the standard. It does not matter. Either name works, just know them both. Now, the real advantage of the shoulder hit is simple. My head always stays in front of yours. Say my stone sits on the fourth line. You crawl once, my stone is still ahead of yours. You crawl again, I simply extend again. White came to reduce, not to invade. There is no deep entry left here. If black grinds out flat third line territory, that is a trade white happily accepts. And if black dreams of attacking this light group, he simply cannot. That is reduction in a nutshell. Stay light, keep your head in front. He turns at the head, we jump. He extends, we fly. Kids love the solid double move here, clumsy. White's 1-space jump is playable, but black peeps, then strikes with a knight's move. But doesn't that leave the push and cut behind? No problem. You Atari, push through, and sacrifice those 3 stones. Barely 6 or 7 points. Then another flight, black dares not cut. White adderus repeatedly, ladder one side, net the other, black is trapped. Suppose black does capture the 3 stones, white's wall grows thick, black's right side turns thin, for barely 7 or 8 points, a bargain black will never accept. The proverb, guarding a cut, the tiger's mouth loses to the knight's move. If black flies instead of turning, hoping to get out quickly, white's two adjacent stones, 1 and 3, can make a large knight's move and run out. A single stone may be cut by an attachment, but 2 stones are normally safe. Against the attachment cut, white hains. Black's sharpest cutting try is to bump here, but it does not work now. White connects, black cuts, and white extends. Run with these 2 stones and black gets captured in a ladder outside. If black wants the outside, white has a small tesuji to capture stones 6 and 8. At first glance, it seems neither ladder works. Even if white plays an upward Atari and the ladder does not work, white jumps once and black's 2 stones cannot escape. Either jump dies, black bends, white nets. This small local tesuji is one everyone needs to know. In actual games, do not look only at Atari and ladders. Many players calculate by thinking of a ladder first, then miss the chance to net. An advanced netting tesuji, black still cannot get out. So this shape is not afraid of an attachment cut. Our group gets out smoothly. Later, turning down at A stays big. The turn at A is still large. Turn at A, peep at B, a loose cap here, each nearly sente. A turn at A, so this white group is not easy to attack either. All have cente value. So this white group is not easy to attack. It has gotten out smoothly. We are out. Black's reduction has done its job here. You keep coming from this side, I jump ahead again. If you come the other way, I turn the corner. And turning the corner, I am already home. Good, on to the next answer. Now, suppose the opponent presses upward instead. We just extend up each time he presses. Key point, our head stays in front always. The rhythm he presses, you extend, he flies, you jump. Extend as he presses, jump as he flies. His knight's move comes early, you jump early, head in front. After pressing, black's knight's move on the second line is standard. If he skips that flight, this move is far bigger than it looks. Blocking here creates the 2-space extension at A, and the white group turns very thick. Watch pro games, attacking toward the center. Pros rarely let the opponent reach the side. Once a weak group touches the edge, its eyes and shape turn healthy. And black's right side holds a lingering threat. White still has the placement at B. Left alone, the push comes, then the peep. Threading the elephant's eye, right? Look how much falls apart once white gets that sequence going. Black blocks, white cuts, black connects, white extends back. Hold on instead, and white pushes straight through. So black has his own problems back there. That is why this move is no sign of weakness. We never play this shoulder hit out of fear. What I am erasing is the framework you are about to turn into center territory. Your side and corner territory, untouched, already yours. I am reducing your potential because your stones here are simply too many. A nod of respect to your thickness. Understood, everyone? So the shoulder hit here is a completely normal shape. Quick check. Fairly simple so far. Any questions? Type 1 if you are good. One supplement, when black presses, white can also jump. When is it common? A shape you all know. After the corner approach, white lands the shoulder hit on black's enclosure. Black crawls, and white usually jumps. The jump stays lighter and faster. Note white's tiger's mouth at A and the matching one at B below. Say black wedges and connects, white answers with a light knight's move. Black's 6, 8, 10, 12 flawed, heavy and slow, while white's 9, 11, 13 take flight on the outside. Excellent efficiency. Same idea below. If black tenukis the bottom, Then I bring this tiger's mouth across. Suddenly severe. An iron head working with the right side. Black's bottom cannot get out. Everything is sente for white. White gains a sweeping outside wall. If black wedges and connects here, in the upper right I showed the knight's move. Here you may skip the knight's move and connect. A knight's move lets black cut instantly. When we are thin, we connect. If the left offers nothing, a tiger's mouth also works for you. The peep achieves little, getting out matters more. Your knight's move comes, I jump again, same as before. If the opponent clamps back underneath, this is the famous 3-3 shoulder hit joseki. White crawls, black jumps, white clamps. Go Saigon's era loved this shape. After this, white can tenuki. Later, white's tiger's mouth here is sente. This jump too smells of sente. So white can tenuki freely. Almost every follow-up here keeps the initiative. Say white's tiger's mouth comes later and black bridges under. White peeps, black blocks. And white's outside wall is remarkably thick. With support above, white even builds his own framework, right? This too achieves the goal, reduce black, expand yourself. Short break, 5 minutes.